What shall I do?
What will you do? Is this a question? Show that you know the poem and remind them what a poem it is. Well, you know what you must do. Go, confront the problem, fight, win, and call me when you get back, darling. I enjoy our visits.
Welcome to the Poetry Dojo,
where we learn to know our poems
and learn to wield them to fight and win.
Today we are considering The Charge of the Light Brigade by Alfred, Lord Tennyson.
The poem was written in 1854, about 6 weeks after a significant battle to which the entire poem is describing took place in the Crimean War. In the Crimean War, 1854, Russia was invading southward and was taking land away from the country that possessed it. At this time, it was the Ottoman Empire that possessed the Crimea. And so Russia was coming to seize the Crimea for itself and was fighting hard to do so.
Got to get that warm water port.
Got to get that warm, exactly. Yep. This was going to be their warm water port. And this is exactly what Great Britain didn't want to happen. So Great Britain decided to ally with the Ottoman Turks and to send her own forces to go fight the Russians to keep them from getting the Crimea. And so it's almost a continuing tradition as to what's happening today. It was a bloody war, very violent. I believe that there was a notable nurse that served in that particular war whose name was Florence Nightingale. In any case, this particular charge that the poem describes was a mistake. It was a miscommunication between the British command, and the order to charge was misunderstood by the commanding officer who was giving the order to the men who would do the charge. He had misheard, and he delivered the wrong order, and whereas the cavalry was supposed to be doing a flanking maneuver, they were instead mistakenly sent charging directly into the full throat of the prepared Russian artillery. And it was a slaughter. The charge was successful in that they reached the goal, but so many had died that they were unable to hold the position, and so were forced to immediately turn and withdraw down the exact same path from which they had just come. This would be somewhat akin, if you're not familiar with this particular battle, if you are familiar with the Battle of Gettysburg and the final charge that took place there, much the same thing took place. And it was a slaughter. We aren't familiar with cavalry charges today, perhaps, and we'll talk more about them after the reading of the poem.
Charge of the Light Brigade by Alfred, Lord Tennyson. Half a league, half a league, half a league onward. All in the valley of death rode the 600. Forward, the Light Brigade! Charge for the guns, he said. Into the valley of death rode the 600. Forward, the Light Brigade! Was there a man dismayed? Not though the soldier knew someone had blundered. There's naught to make reply. There's naught to reason why. There's but to do and die. Into the valley of death rode the 600. Cannon to the right of them, cannon to the left of them, cannon in front of them, volleyed and thundered, stormed at with shot and shell, boldly they rode and well. Into the jaws of death, into the mouth of hell, rode the 600. Flashed all their sabres bare, flashed as they turned in air, sabring the gunners there, charging an army, while all the world wondered. Plunged in the battery smoke, right through the line they broke. Cossack and Russian reeled from the sabre stroke, shattered and sundered. Then they rode back, but not the 600. Cannon to the right of them, cannon to the left of them, cannon behind them, volleyed and thundered, stormed at with shot and shell, while horse and hero fell. They that had fought so well came through the jaws of death, back from the mouth of hell, all that was left of them, left of 600. When can their glory fade? Oh, the wild charge they made, all the world wondered. Honor the charge they made. Honor the Light Brigade. Noble 600.
There is a rhythm to this poem because I believe that the author is trying to convey the sound, the rising rush of a cavalry charge.
The beat of the horse's hooves.
The beat of the horse's hooves. If you're familiar with that, wonderful. If you're not, there is a movie called The Light Horseman that was made in 1987 about the last significant cavalry charge in history that we have recorded that took place at Beersheba in Palestine. And it was a successful cavalry charge. But the importance of when you can watch it on YouTube, you don't actually have to go and find the entire movie yourself. But what's significant is the way a cavalry charge takes place, which is first there's a lineup as the order is given. And then there's the command to go forward, and the horses start walking. They're walking as a line. And then at a certain point, that walk at the signal of the officers commanding the charge turns to a trot. And from the trot, at a certain signal, it turns to a full-on gallop. And at that point, the line goes from being this perfect, even line to suddenly becoming ragged as some horses are racing faster than others. But everybody is racing to cover the last territory before the enemy can kill them with shot and shell. The difference between shot and shell is that shot is solid, grape shot. It would be, they would be loading like coffee, the old-fashioned aluminum coffee cans filled with 1-inch lead shot. And when the cannon fired, that cylinder would shatter apart and you'd have this shotgun blast of 1-inch diameter lead balls tearing across the field. Shell, on the other hand, had explosives inside. And so when the shell arrived and hit the ground, it would explode and would send shrapnel. It was like a very large hand grenade, as it were, shrapnel flying in every direction. So one was a directed shot. The other one would be a spray of shrapnel that they were riding through. That would be killing both horse and man. So you get a good view of that actually in the movie The Light Horseman, which was made in 1987. The first stanza of this poem starts slow and it begins to speed up. You can imagine that the first stanza is the setup as the cavalry is lining up. The second stanza, they've given the command to go forward. The horses all start walking. They're moving at a horses walking pace. By the third stanza, they're in a trot. And at the fourth, they're in a desperate gallop as they're being torn apart by shot and shell. And then, having reached the end of the fourth stanza, they have to turn back. And as they are able at a gallop, they are racing back the way they've come, still being torn apart by shot and shell. And only in the last stanza, the shortest of them all, do we get that retrospective, that review of what had taken place and how we should respond to it.
Yeah, there's no criticism to be leveled here that, they were so foolish to run into the guns. No, they were doing their duty. They were obeying orders.
They knew that the orders were wrong. They understood that, but their duty was not to remonstrate with their commanders. Their duty was to obey. Theirs not to make reply to their commanders. Theirs not to reason why, not to sit there and argue and consider what. It was simply theirs to do and die.
To obey at personal cost.
At great personal cost, even absolute personal cost.
Yeah, we see an echo of the heroism of one who obeyed even to death.
Who understood exactly the order that he was given. And even the Son learned obedience in the suffering upon a cross. And this is what makes their sacrifice honorable, makes it worthy of honor, because it is reflecting that commitment, that obedience to authority, and fundamentally recognizing that that authority comes from God, the throne of God himself. Nevertheless, the lesser magistrates, the lesser officers, would be held accountable and were held accountable for what had taken place. for the errors that had been made and for the grave cost that they brought.
Thank you for tuning in. This has been a Diecast Media Group production. Please recommend us to friends, family, relations, but not your competitors. Feel free to email us with questions at poetrydojo@diecastmediagroup.com. And tune in next time for another exciting episode and another fine poem.
In Russia, poem presents self. What will I do?
What will you do? Show that you know the poem. I didn't even have it in front of me. I was not ready. Save that blooper for the end, Joseph.